You do not have to hold on any longer, folks, because we are back on the Gazette Radio Hour with Doug and John, the radio digest version of the Santa Clarita Gazette and Free Classifieds for all you need to know to be in the know.
Wow, you
nailed
really,
it.
Yeah, you did. But, you had to do that every week. You mix in the lyrics. One of these days we're going to change the songs. You're not going to know what to do.
I know. I only try to do it once a show, okay?
It's getting kind of
all right. We have our national correspondent with us, Mr. Robert Patrick Lewis, who co-hosted for you last week, John.
I know. I feel like. Do you feel like you were Wally Pip there for a second, Robert?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Somebody got my Wally Pip.
All right,
joke.
it's time to quit joking around. This is serious stuff. Rob, here's some of the headlines. Are you ready?
We're not going to read headlines to him.
Yeah,
we're not doing this. No, I want to ask him a question about.
I want to read him headlines.
I want to ask him. Okay, how come the King of Jordan comes out and is such a badass, and there's such a prompt
That's what
response?
the headline was.
Oh, well, I wanted to do it this way. This is much more fun. He comes out and he's like, "No, we're not going to put up with this," and he immediately takes action. We don't do that.
Well, and there's some really funny stuff going around Facebook. There's one meme that I keep seeing repeatedly that says, "You kill our." It's got a picture of the King of Jordan. Says, "You kill our pilot, we'll come and destroy your entire people." And then it's got Obama, and it says, "You kill one of our people, and we'll let all of your people free out of prison."
Yeah, exactly.
It really is. It's unfortunately, but it's kind of the mess our country is in right now with a weak-spined leader.
All right. Well, let me ask a question that makes a little bit more sense. And we were arguing with Doug about this, and it's a little bit of a devil's advocate question because I think I kind of know the answer, but I want your opinion. It was a very quick response from Jordan. I mean, they didn't hesitate. They just came out and said, "Bam, this is it."
He was at the White House or in Washington when he heard the news.
And it was
and he
very,
cut his
very
stay
short.
short.
He cut his stay short. Went back
Obama
home,
wouldn't even cut his stay in Hawaii short.
Hang on a second. Do you think that and obviously Jordan and the United States are in very different playing fields when it comes to being a world power. Do you think that we've kind of that whole paralysis by analysis has kind of kicked in, where we're so concerned about our position in the world that we don't take action when something bad like this happens? Or is it just we're just a weak country now and we've got bad leadership?
It might be. There might be paralysis by analysis at some levels. Think tanks. Obviously there's some of our, I think, most brazen generals have been fired by Obama. So I think that paralysis by analysis is, of course, in place in the military these days. But I think when you're talking in pure terms of leadership, I really think Obama he's not in his element. His element is speaking at a donor dinner. That's his element. On the golf course, that's his element. Having, the mainstream media just puff up his ego and tell him he's the next Christ, right? That's his element. But anything that has to do with actual national security, he has no idea what to do. And he fired all the best people in his cabinet that did know what to do. Yeah, well,
it's not like Jordan did a measured response.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know.
Okay.
The president
it wasn't
got
measured.
in a plane and went and flew combat sorties. I know.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And I don't have a problem with a measured response. I mean, I don't know whether anytime something happens bad to the United States, we immediately fly out the bombers. But I think a firm, measured response, so that our the enemy really, because we're in a war, people. I don't know if anybody realizes that.
But John, I think it's a measured response to a whole series of events, just not one. Just when they burned the pilot the other day, it's all the stuff leading up to that. Everything that's been going on. It's just Bill O'Reilly brought it up, and I agree with him. It's a form of Nazism, where when Hitler first started, everybody kind of ignored him and just let it festered until it did horrendous damage.
Well, I saw a thing where there was a newspaper was it Austria? Oh, a Jewish newspaper was saying, he was in jail. Hitler was actually put in jail for a little while.
Yeah. And
they released him for good conduct, saying that he is no longer a menace and nothing will happen. And then he came out and tried to take over the world and killed a lot of people.
Right.
So it did. Yeah, I mean, we have some of that. But, when you're talking about a measured response, I talked about this a few months ago. I have a very good friend of mine that's in 5th Special Forces Group who they were spun up. They went over there. They were in Jordan training to go after ISIS, and they got the call from the Department of Defense to stand down. So that measured response was there. We were strategically putting people in place. We were putting 5th Special Forces Group, who that's what they do. That's their AO. That's their area of operation.
Right.
And they were called back. They were training up. They were ready to go cut heads off. and they were called back. So, something that's a little strange.
Rob, I asked you when you were co-hosting last week, we've got 2 years left of this administration, and I said, can we make it for 2 years without a disaster happening? And a week ago you said, I'm not sure. And now a week later, it's worse. Things have gotten worse in 7 days.
Yeah, well, and that's, it's an unfortunate thing, but I don't see it getting any better, and that's, again, the reason that I wrote my book is because I saw these things happening in geopolitics. I saw all of our enemies, not being specifically aggressive towards us, but, again, that's my latest article for the Gazette, is kind of Russia is a little bit, but they're all forming alliances. And this is how you play chess. You don't send your pawn after the king initially. You get everybody strategically placed so that you can all attack at the right time and take out all the defenses. And I see that going on. And again, Obama's out of his element, and it's not that he's not a smart man, but he's not a strategic thinker in anything besides politics and donations.
Right.
And so he's completely out of his element, and either he doesn't see it, or he doesn't care, or, as my book kind of goes into, maybe he has a hand in the downfall of America, which, and we can open up the floodgates of conspiracy theories, but the fact that a guy like me can see all this stuff going on, and he is acting like he doesn't, scares the bejesus out of me.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of your book, when is that out?
February 17th. That's the date that I got from my publisher. So that's our first tentative date that it should be up on Kindle and available to order on Amazon.
Oh, perfect.
Can I get a signed copy?
Yes, sir. I'm going to do some signings here in Santa Clarita, actually.
Awesome.
So,
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll be there.
Hey, listen, when we come back, we want to, you referred to the article you wrote in the Gazette. We want to talk about that when we come back.
Oh, yeah, I'd love to.
Great. All right. You're listening to Gazette Radio Hour with Doug and John. And our foreign correspondent, our national correspondent. He's not foreign. He's actually from. All right, I'm going to say
here in Santa Clarita.
AM-1220 KHTS, Santa Clarita's hometown station. We'll be right back.
We are back, everybody, on Santa Clarita's hometown station, AM-1220 KHTS. It's the Gazette Radio Hour, the radio digest version of the Santa Clarita Gazette, and free classifieds for everything you need to know to be in the know. And our special guest is our national correspondent, author, former Green Beret, Robert Patrick Lewis.
You forgot all around good guy.
He is a good guy.
I know, you forgot that part. You should at least say that. Isn't that part of it? I thought that was part of his...
He irritates me once in a while, so I have
Yeah, only on Fridays.
I thought we had to say he's all around good. He told us we had to say he's all around good
kick
guy.
our butt.
Yeah. All right, so Robert, the article. You wrote an article in the Gazette about Russia being the big threat, and I got the impression that you actually think that Russia is causing most of the turmoil in the world at this point in time, or has a hand in it.
Well, and that's a great thing about what we call proxy wars. And it's been a part of our culture for a very long time, and people don't know. I mean, that's by the whole nature of it. In special operations, clandestine operations, covert operations. The whole point of doing these things is so that nobody can ever really officially say this was America, or this was Russia, or this was Canada, or Britain, or whatever. It's so that you can kind of deny. You have plausible deniability for these different things. And, Putin is a former KGB agent. People forget about that.
Yeah,
he's the guy. He knows what he's doing. And that's exactly what they're doing right now. Not only are they kind of creating as much chaos in the world as they can, I mean, it was called the conspiracy theory from a lot of people on the left, but I can tell you from firsthand, my own eyewitness account, we were fighting Chechens, we were fighting Russians, we were fighting Iranians in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Oh,
that's how it works. I mean, that's what happens. Russia didn't ever go into Afghanistan, but, that same token, when Russia was invading Afghanistan, America wasn't officially there either.
No,
right?
we had CIA advisors and everybody else. That's pretty much a given. That's how Obama or Osama bin Laden came to power. Yeah,
exactly. And that was one of those things that we kind of always understood in special forces. Like, we were training our future enemy. We knew that those guys that we were training in Afghanistan and Africa and Iraq, at some point, we would most likely be fighting them.
And that becomes a necessary evil, doesn't it? I mean, you almost
it depends on which side of the coin you look at. If you're a libertarian, that's kind of why libertarians are so against foreign United States foreign policy, because they understand that. But we are, at the end of the day, creating enemies. But the way that our current foreign policy is, we're putting out small fires as quickly as we can, but we're lighting other fires as we go. So we might put out 5 and start another one on our way. And so libertarians, they're not a fan of it. But kind of the rest of the country is kind of, well, what are you going to do? We gotta fight these guys. We gotta fight ISIS. Yeah. We gotta fight Al Qaeda. We gotta fight AQAP. So we're gonna burn some bridges. We're gonna make some enemies. We're gonna have some casualties.
Hey, Robert, the gist of your article you started off was that a Russian plane carrying a nuclear warhead or bomb, whatever, had invaded U.S. airspace. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, this is the UK.
It was
so
UK.
in the last,
sorry,
in the last, I think, year. So in the last calendar year, Russian bombers, loaded Russian bombers, have invaded NATO airspace. So both in Europe and in the United States, over 100 times, which means they've actually come into airspace. And a lot of people are saying they're testing our response time. Right? That is kind of a scary thing. But when I wrote the article, I was writing that I believe it's just this thing that we call deterrence theory. So Thomas Schelling, very brilliant man. He came up with a couple of different things. One is deterrence theory, one is game theory. It's basically nuclear proliferation, this idea that we all know that if nuclear powers ever fight, Russia knows if they ever nuked us, our response time is so quick, we would annihilate them on the return. Right? So their only options are to destroy our entire continent and every single ICBM that we have, which is impossible because we have submarines swimming around all over the place,
right?
Or mutually assured destruction. So this deterrence theory is kind of this idea that you let both sides know that you still have it. That's kind of, I feel that's what Russia's doing by flying around with nukes, knowing that the UK was going to find out that this plane had nukes on it because they could hear that the Russians know that every conversation they have can be heard, and they were speaking on an open line in the cockpit.
Right.
So they knew that this stuff was going to get picked up, and that's why I think that's what this is. It's deterrence theory. It's Russia letting the West know, hey, we still have nukes. Don't mess with us. We have all these sanctions on Russia right now. We're being very aggressive towards them because of their actions in Ukraine. And I think it's their way of just saying, hey, remember, we're still here. Don't piss us off too much because we could still kill off.
Yeah. I think it's but how far reaching do you think that deterrence theory goes? Does it go into their supporting, for lack of a better term, anti-American groups throughout the world? And how much of that support do you think we know about?
Well, see, that's the whole, it's kind of what I said in the article is that it spawns proxy wars, right? So deterrence theory means Russia and the United States, we're probably not going to have a big blue versus red, like World War II style battle, but now we have proxy wars popping up all over the place. We have these other kinds of actions where everything is clandestine, everything is special operations, so nobody can really point the finger at each other, even though we fully know that we're doing this to each other. And it is all over the place. I mean, we found Afghanistan was full of Russian arms. Afghanistan had, they had Spetsnaz, just like we have Green Berets. They had Spetsnaz. Right. They had Quds. They had Iranian special forces. They were all over the place. Every battlefield that we're on right now, they are actively fighting.
Okay.
Robert, I'm sitting here thinking as you're talking about Russia, and then I'm thinking about China, and I'm thinking about the Middle East. It's a mess. Is this are we on the doorstep of World War III?
I don't know. Again, that is where my book goes because I kind of see it happening. Because whatever it is, some people believe World War III will be nuclear Armageddon. World War III would just be kind of all the superpowers in the world going to war. Doesn't necessarily have to be nuclear Armageddon because everybody knows that would destroy the planet. Right? We would all die, and our offspring would die, and there would be no more us, except for the cockroaches. So I think it would be World War III. I think World War III, I think something major is coming. I don't think it's going to be the nuclear Armageddon that people suspect it to be, but I see all the biggest kids on the block getting ready. I mean, I see the gloves going on.
Wow. So, all right. So, what we should do is we should all make a pact and move somewhere to protect ourselves. Oh, wait a minute. I just gave your book away, didn't I? Jeez.
That's all 3 books in a nutshell.
Wow.
No, that's the first book in a nutshell. The second and the third have a pretty interesting twist to them.
Oh, I can't wait.
Oh, you're not going to give it away, are you?
Not quite yet.
All right. Well, I was trying. I thought it was a good idea. And if you weren't going to write it, I was going to write it.
Actually, they're all, the first one is obviously written. It's about to be put out. The second one is in it's almost completed, and the third one's outlined. So they're pretty much, they'll all be done pretty soon.
Hey, Robert, real quick, we just got a few seconds left. What did you think of Obama's speech at the prayer breakfast, comparing what happened with Christianity 1,000 years ago to what's going on with ISIS now?
For a guy who tries so much to downplay the people on the right that say he's a Muslim, that say he's doing all this stuff for the Muslim Brotherhood, he sure seems like, I don't see, he's not covering his tracks very well. If he isn't, then he sure is making himself seem out to be that he is an actual Muslim convert. if he really is, then he's not hiding it very well.
Yeah.
I don't get his angle. That's what I don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't understand his angle. On the one hand, he says he's not, belongs to Reverend Wright's church. On the other hand, he does stuff like this.
Yeah, it's silly. Best comment I heard was, "Gee, well, I think we have that under control now. Maybe we should go to something that's running rampant." I was like, we took care of Christianity and all the atrocities done in that's name about 1,000 years ago, give or take. Maybe we should turn our attention to something that's a little bit more relevant nowadays.
Yeah, the people that are actually cutting heads off right now,
Yes.
burning pilots alive. I
Yes.
think that's a little more pressing.
Yes.
Just a little bit.
All right, Robert, thanks for your time. We hope to have you back next
Robert
week.
Patrick Lewis, the author,
Yeah.
the ex-Green Beret, and the all-around nice guy, and our national correspondent. See, I got that in.
Yeah.
All right.
Sounds great.
All right, can't wait for the book. We'll be talking about that when it comes out, and we'll have you back on absolutely, maybe in studio when I'm here too. All right,
All right, that sounds great.
Great, thanks, Robert.
Thanks, guys.
All right, you're listening to Gazette Radio. I'm Doug and John on AM-1220 KHTS, Santa Clarita's hometown station. We'll be right back.